This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Ty Higgins. New and now at ohioagnet.com, the final installment of 2025's Between the Rows. Here's Brianna Smith.
Our final Between the Rows update of 2025 is brought to you by Seed Genetics Direct, business with a handshake, not a 3-year contract. Let's check in with Dale Miller of Wayne and Holmes County.
Guys are finishing up beans, the ones that are still left out there, and the majority of the corn is, I would say 80% completed in this area over here. There's pockets with a little bit of corn left that maybe was later planted stuff and still seems to be a little bit damp. But other than that, for the most part, guys are getting it out of the field. Wheat that I've looked at looks excellent. Emergence was really good.
Next, we'll check in with Jade Newton of Preble County.
The last 2 weeks have gone well. Everybody is either wrapped up or just at the cusp of being able to finish up. We've seen a lot of corn get finished up, and then double crops, of course. We're seeing a lot of fall tillage, dry fertilizer being spread in line, some burn down going on, some spraying as well. So a mix of those fall activities now that people are starting to wrap up harvest.
For the full Between the Rows update, visit ohioagnet.com. Reporting for Ohio's Country Journal and Ohio AgNet, I'm Brianna Smith.
Thank you, Brianna. USDA's crop progress reports have been halted during the government shutdown for the 6th week in a row. Ohio AgNet yet again reaching out through our social media channels to see how progress is going for you across the state. Our audience reports that Claremont and Warren counties show soybeans and corn 100% complete for one user, with many neighbors finishing up this week. However, there are some acres out there still of corn to be finished in that area. Westward in Miami and Darke counties, harvest has been done for a couple of weeks, and news tippers say there are very few fields not completed there. Ohio AgNet's team, of course, always all over the state, reporting back that except for occasional fields of double crop beans, some corn yet to be shelled, harvest overall complete around Ohio. Our crop progress coverage brought to you by Unleaded 88. Save on fuel with the blue handle. Fill up with Unleaded 88. Discover more at ohiocornandwheat.org. Crop production report coming up on the 14th, cattle on feed on the 21st, and milk production also coming out on the 21st of November. These will be the newest numbers from USDA since September. Mobilizing veterans to feed America. That's the mission of the Farmer Veteran Coalition. On this Veterans Day, we learn more about this organization, giving our veterans an opportunity to earn a meaningful and sustainable place in the agricultural community. Mike Burgett is the president of the Farmer Veteran Coalition's Ohio chapter.
The Farmer Veteran Coalition is a nationwide organization started 15 years ago by Michael Gorman in California. He saw the need of service members coming home from the war and the transition, the issues they were having, and he thought that he could help. Right now, we are over 56,000 members nationwide. Here in Ohio, we have 1,500 members.
Burgett, who farms in Ashtabula County, has spent 34 years in the Ohio Army National Guard and is a 5-deployment veteran. He says there are many correlations between military life and agriculture.
There's a saying in the military, plan never meets first contact with the enemy, and farming is a lot like that. You have a great plan for the season, and Mother Nature, animals have their own input on the results of that. So it's very much like the military, the outdoors. It really draws military members to don't want to be cooped up in an office.
Burgett was born into the farm life, but he says that's not the case for all members of the Farmer Veteran Coalition.
Some people, like me, are from a rural area and realize when they go away, whether it's the military or the school, that they miss it and it's part of them, and they return to the farm. Other people, whether it's working in the dirt, working around animals, they find it healing for them and their experiences through the military. And other people, they have that green thumb and they may want to turn that garden into, an urban farm, doing hydroponics or you name it.
Through his experiences on the battlefield or in the hayfield, Burgett says he wouldn't change a thing.
I love the farm, and I love being a soldier. 34 years in boots. I'm getting to the end of my career now as a colonel, but both of them have become a part of who I am.
To learn more about the Farmer Veteran Coalition, get involved or donate, visit farmvetco.org or ohiofarmerveteran.org. Let's get a weather update from Ryan Martin, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com.
Can't rule out lake effect precipitation, especially in northern tier counties and northeastern Ohio through today, but I am seeing a winds shift this afternoon and evening, going more westerly, and those west winds will shift the burden of precipitation a little bit farther to the north. The rest of the week should turn out partly sunny, and with the sunshine, we get a little bit warmer tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday. Southwest flow takes full control here by Thursday afternoon and Friday. That's where we really see the warmth come. 50s likely as we get back into the end of the week and weekend, 60s in southern Ohio. Next frontal boundary that we're paying attention to comes for Sunday. Looking at that coming through all of the state of Ohio. 100% coverage with rain totals anywhere from 1/10 to 3/4 of an inch. We dry down for Monday and Tuesday of next week. Next frontal boundary that we see after that is going to be closer to Thursday, the 20th. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. As you might have heard earlier this month, the Farmers for Free Trade motorcade came through the Buckeye State. They wrapped up their tour in Washington, D.C. last week. Shelby County, Ohio farmer Chris Gibbs was along for the ride. We'll hear from him coming up after this on the Ohio AgNet.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
Did you know veterinarians touch our lives each day, whether we own a pet or not? From safeguarding against diseases to making sure our food supply is safe, to treating the family pet or the farm's food production animals, veterinarians are on the front lines. I'm Dr. Kevin Fitzgerald from Animal Planet's eVet Interns. Veterinary medicine is more than you think. Learn more at avma.org. A public service message from the American Veterinary Medical Association and this station.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins. A new podcast is online at ohioagnet.com, episode 418 of the Ohio AgNet podcast. I catch up with Trevor Kirkpatrick of Ohio Farm Bureau to discuss the launch of the new Ohio Farm Bureau health plans, now open for enrollment. Dusty Sonnenberg talks with Julia Brown of the Ohio Soybean Council about the inaugural Ohio Soy Immersion Experience. And Dale Mignot wraps things up with a visit to Wilmington College to learn about the school's new Agri-Science Complex. You can hear that podcast now at ohioagnet.com. Chris Gibbs, a farmer from Shelby County, was on the Farmers for Free Trade motorcade tour as it made a stop through Columbus and ended its tour in Washington, D.C. last week. He says the trade woes with our partners around the globe are having a major impact on farmers, especially during a time where the farm economy is out of whack.
What we have to start with first is the price we're receiving for our commodities. We are below the cost of production on our major commodities, corn, soybeans, and wheat, and maybe some others. So that's hurting. From the other end, it's input costs. Our input costs for parts, for our fertilizer, for our repairs, etc., are all increasing, and interest rates as well. Interest rates have not really come down. Operating capital that farmers use, my operating capital right now is 7.65%. That's high by standards that we're used to over the last 10 or 15 years. So all of those things manifest themselves as no profit for our agricultural sector, particularly in the grains.
You've noticed some things as you've gone through harvest and looked throughout your combine that kind of caught your attention, that kind of goes into the conversation of trade back and forth.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this fall, or when we started harvesting beans, we're going to change the combine, or the concaves in my combine. So something we don't do every maybe 4 or 5 years. So I get in there, and what's the first thing I find on parts that I've never looked at before? It's made in P. R. C. People's Republic of China. Now, I don't begrudge that at all. So I started looking around at other things that were just very, very easy to spot. Pulley, made in Spain. Another pulley, made in China. Something else, a casting made in China. Then, electronic parts, made in Mexico or made in Canada. So I don't begrudge that at all, but the fact of the matter is that we're paying tariffs on those. Farmers are paying tariffs on those parts. So that increases our cost, and those tariffs were applied when they didn't have to be applied. to us. So that increases our costs.
You know, we talked a lot about USMCA back during Trump administration 1.0, and now that conversation has really focused on Argentina. We saw a big check from the U.S. government going to Argentina a few weeks ago. They obviously are a big competitor of ours in the soybean market and other markets as well. And now we're talking about bringing in beef from Argentina. You're a cattle producer as well. How does that hit you?
Yeah, certainly the Argentina issue is multifaceted. The president said that to lower beef prices, the United States of America is going to import beef from Argentina. What a slap in the face to beef producers all across this nation.
He says beef prices are too high. You say?
Beef prices for the cattlemen and women are probably about where they need to be. It's the expenses that are the problem, okay? You know, it's our turn this time. So many times it's the packers' turn to profit. This time we have a chance to profit, and the first thing out of the bag, the administration wants to lower our prices and not talk about anything to lower our expenses.
You can find out more about the Farmers for Free Trade motorcade online at farmersforfreetrade.com. There's also a video from the Columbus stop of the tour on our YouTube page. We'll get a check of the markets and some analysis coming up after this as the Ohio AgNet continues.
When you're buying seed, there's more to a transaction than money. You're exchanging time and trust, hoping each decision adds up at harvest. Seed consultant sales professionals don't take that lightly. With products made to excel in the Eastern Corn Belt and agronomic knowledge that stands up to the test, we're all about the same things you are: reliability and results. Buy into a better seed experience. Visit seedconsultants.com to view our corn and soybean lineup.
Here's farmer and businessman James Wood.
We farm about 3,500 acres. There's pipelines everywhere. The contractor working on my property did not have the lines located before he began work, and it resulted on a strike on a natural gas pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Overnight numbers from Chicago coming up on the Ohio AgNet, but first some market analysis brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC. Here's Ryan Martin.
As we take a look at yesterday's market action, it was mostly higher. Beans leading the charge, but corn and wheat coming along for the ride. Brokers estimate that managed money purchased 4,400 contracts of beans yesterday, 2,200 contracts of corn, 2,000 contracts of wheat. Export inspections for the week ending November 6th were 56 million bushels of corn, 40 million bushels of beans, 10.7 million bushels of wheat. For the respective crop years, the U.S. has shipped about 214 million bushels more than last year on corn, down about 236 million bushels on beans, and up 71.6 million bushels on wheat. Based on the U.S. soybean exports for weeks in 24, we're looking at the numbers for this crop year to date being down some 325 to 300 million bushel, 50 million bushels by the end of November. A big footprint that we have to try and make up sometime and somewhere. The U.S. barge market and soybean export origination desks are relatively slow here as we get started this week. No interest from China on U.S. beans, and honestly, we're seeing that back into the interior. Not a lot of reason to send trains any one direction over another. The crops, corn, beans, wheat, all just kind of sitting right now. I'm Ryan Martin.
A check of the overnight markets brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Corn a little bit lower with December down 3/4 at $4.29 a bushel. March $4.44 down a half cent. And corn for May down a half as well at $4.53. No change for November soybeans. The new crop at $11.16 a bushel. Jan beans $11.27 1/4 off by 2 3/4, and beans for March $11.36 1/2 down by 2 3/4 as well. Overnight in the wheat trade, December $5.35 a bushel down 3/4. July off a half cent $5.68 1/4, and wheat for September $5.81 1/2, no change. Yesterday in the livestock complex, live cattle for December up 720 at 288.55. Feeder cattle for January up 925 at 328.82. And lean hogs for December up 337 at 82.77. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.